What's up, guys? I hope y'all are having a great day today, just full of so much positivity and happiness, dude, because if you're an Xbox fan, it is definitely not that, bro, because this is absolutely insane, man. I had to do a double take when I first saw this on Twitter this morning, and holy shit, it is actually real, man. Now, Xbox has decided that they are going to be raising the price of all of their Xbox Series X consoles, accessories, and even the games they sell. And this is coming from an IGN report. They actually broke the news on this. Microsoft reached out to them with the information to disseminate it. And well, I think we should probably just go ahead and get right into this. So the title of this article is Microsoft raises the price of all Xbox Series consoles. Xbox games confirmed to hit $80 this holiday. We understand that these changes are challenging. Now the article reads, Microsoft is raising prices on Xbox by a lot. In an announcement today, the company said it will be raising prices on Xbox consoles, controllers, headsets, and some games. The price hike for consoles and accessories kicks in today, May 1st, and while game prices will stay the same for now, we should expect to see Xbox charging $80 for new first-party games around the holiday season. Price increases are taking effect globally with the exception of headset prices, which are only going up in the US and Canada. Now, here are the prices that will be affected. I'll go ahead and put them up on screen, but I'll go ahead and highlight the main ones here that we actually care about. So the Series S 512 gigabyte version is going up to $380, up from $300. Now, keep in mind, about a year or two ago, you were able to get this console for $130 on sale at Costco during Black Friday. So this is absolutely insanely high for this console. The Xbox Series S 1 terabyte is up to $430, up from $350. The Xbox Series X digital is up to $550, up from $449. The Series X with the disc drive is up to $600, up from $500. And the Xbox Series X 2 terabyte Galaxy Special Edition is $729, up from $599.99, baby. Now, keep in mind, this is not just in the United States. These price changes will go into effect globally, which means tariffs are not the driving reason for this price increase, because if it was only due to the US tariffs on Chinese goods, then that means the console would remain the same price in those countries not actively tariffing China. So this is not just in relation to the tariffs that have been imposed on Chinese manufacturing, as we will hear in Microsoft's very own statement. So Microsoft also issued IGN the following statement as to why price increases were taking place, and they said, "We understand that these changes are challenging, and they were made with careful consideration given market conditions and the rising cost of development." Key word there, the rising cost of development. Microsoft has massively ballooned its development budget, which means they have to find a way to pay for all those developers they now employ. Looking ahead, we continue to focus on offering more ways to play more games across any screen and ensuring value for Xbox players. Well, I can assure you, man, that the Series X is not a value at $600, and the Series S sure as shit ain't a value at almost $400, bro. That is absolutely insane, man. Now, this is right off the back of the news that the Nintendo Switch would be $450 or $500 with Mario Kart bundled, and people were absolutely losing their minds over that in conjunction with the fact that Mario Kart World was going to be an $80 game. Well, it seems like Nintendo was just ahead of the curve because Microsoft was right behind them, and I wouldn't be surprised if Sony is going to follow suit. Maybe they won't, maybe they will. I think it'd be really smart if Sony did not, because they would end up making a lot of goodwill back from the gaming community if they were the only ones to not dramatically increase prices. But this is definitely interesting, man, because it's already hard enough for Microsoft to sell the Xbox Series X at $500, so I don't know who the fuck is going to go out of their way and spend $600 on this thing when you can literally buy a PS5, get all of Sony's games, get all third-party games, and now all of Xbox's games. There there is genuinely no reason to go out and buy an Xbox at this point. I mean, shit, man, for the Series S 1 terabyte, you can go out and buy a regular PlayStation 5 for $450, and it's bundled with Astro Bot. That's what we're talking about here, man. There is no reason to go out and buy an Xbox, and while it does line up with Xbox's marketing for the past 2 years or so, where they've outright told you not to buy the console because you can play their games on everything else already. So maybe this is all part of the master plan. Maybe this was an ultimatum issued to the Xbox department by Microsoft. Like, hey, we went out on a limb here. We gave you almost $100 billion worth of acquisitions. It's time for you to put up or shut up. And these console sales are not doing it, buddy. You know, maybe the whip is finally getting cracked over there at Xbox, and Phil Spencer actually has to deliver some money, man, because this is absolutely insane. We are 5 years into this console generation, and we're seeing a 20% price increase on a 5-year-old console. Not a updated version, not a more powerful version, the exact same version that launched back in 2020 is now $100 more expensive than it was basically 5 years ago. This is absolutely unprecedented. Now, again, Sony may follow suit. This may not just be a Microsoft thing, but I think it's very interesting that they specifically cite the cost of development, because that is solely unaffected by tariffs. The fact that they're bringing that up tells me that I think they expanded too quickly and too big. They spent way too much money on the Activision Blizzard acquisition, which now, looking back on it, was great for Activision Blizzard investors like myself. I made a ton of money off that deal, but not so great for Microsoft, because they bought Activision at an incredibly inflated price coming out of the pandemic, where gaming hit an all-time high, because lo and behold, when people are literally locked inside of their house with nothing to do, they turn to entertainment products like video games in order to find some sort of entertainment while they're stuck inside. And well, those people didn't really stick around for the long term, and the video game industry saw a pretty significant retraction. A bunch of layoffs followed suit, and well, Microsoft in the end ended up paying way too much for Activision Blizzard. On top of that, Game Pass subscriptions have completely stagnated over the past few years. Microsoft was only able to sell just under 3 million consoles in the entire calendar year of 2024, which is what the PlayStation 5 sold in November alone, which is just absolutely mind-blowingly bad in the grand scheme of things. So Microsoft may be no longer willing to take a loss on these consoles, and they're looking for a way to subsidize these massive studio expenses, which maybe the short-term solution to that is just charge more money for the actual console itself. Maybe they were losing a little bit of money on the console with the tariffs and everything like that. I'm not entirely sure. I don't have insight into Microsoft's financial statements to that degree, but this is really interesting, and it absolutely destroys these fanboy narratives we've heard that Microsoft is just ahead of the game. They know exactly what they're doing. They're outperforming Sony and Nintendo at every opportunity. Blah, blah, blah. Game Pass is the greatest thing to ever happen in the history of mankind. You know, the typical spiel. And what's funny is, too, is this is the exact same group of people that have been just nailing the Nintendo Switch 2 for basically releasing at $450 and charging $80 for video games. Well, Nintendo's console is now cheap in comparison to what Microsoft is charging for the Xbox. Not only is the Series X $150 more expensive than the Nintendo Switch 2 at this point, but the Xbox Series S 1 terabyte edition, a console that has regularly gone on sale. I just want to remind you, the 512 gigabyte version was on sale at Costco a year ago for Black Friday for $130. That is now the same price as the brand new Nintendo Switch 2, which, you know, compared to a 5-year-old console is just absolutely mind-blowing to think about, especially when you pair it with the fact that Microsoft is also raising the price of games to $80 on their platform, which means the AAA industry is going to follow suit. This is no longer isolated to Nintendo, and it just seems like Nintendo was ahead of the curve and they took a lot of the flack up front, but in reality, everybody else was planning this behind the scenes anyway. But we still do not have confirmation if Sony is going to follow suit or not. I just find this really interesting, man, because in a time where we would typically be be seeing video game console prices dramatically declining at this point in the video game console life cycle. We are now seeing a massive 20% price increase, with citing video game development costs as one of the driving factors for it. So this is absolutely crazy shit, man. I don't really know what to say. Definitely a very interesting situation we find ourselves in. Again, who knows? Sony may announce the exact same thing, but right now you can go buy a PlayStation 5 Disc Drive Edition with Astrobot bundled with it for $450. So if you've been on the fence about buying a new console, this might be the time, man. Go ahead and snag that up while you still can. But this is absolutely insane, man. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of people that are not able to keep that same energy. At the end of the day, I personally don't really care all that much. I wouldn't recommend that you buy an Xbox at $500, so I sure as shit wouldn't recommend that you buy one at $600 at this point, because there's literally no reason to own one, as Microsoft has made abundantly clear, unless you're looking for something to play Xbox 360 games on. But you could just go buy an Xbox One X at this point. It'd be a lot better economically, but this is mind-blowing, bro. So I'm always interested to hear y'all's thoughts on these particular topics. I had to crank out the slot video before I started work today, man. This was absolutely crazy. I'm cutting it close to the wire here. I have like 5 minutes until a meeting, so I'll have to edit this audio after that, and hopefully it'll be out in a timely manner. But yeah, absolutely mind-blowing shit, guys. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section. Hit that like button if you did enjoy, and I will catch you guys in the next video.